We previously covered our sales numbers once before, but we kind of blue-balled you because it took about 8 minutes before we jumped into the numbers, so here they are. We released our game Forge Industry, a resource automation and management game, about 5 months ago from today, and these are the numbers. We have made a gross of $7,189 through Steam, sold 476 copies in total, and then we also have another 198 retail units. We also have a graph here of our sales. Here we can spot a few key points, such as when we released our video, the first time we went on a week-long sale, and the very recently paused Steam Autumn Fest. If this was all you cared about, thanks for watching, go and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. But there's a bit more nuance to all of these numbers, and we just want to go a bit more in depth about it and talk about what has happened really since we released our most popular video to date, where we covered the very sad launch of our game Forge Industry and how we have kind of recovered from that.
The first time we made the video about how Forge Industry launched, the numbers behind it, we had about 2,500 wish lists and I think about 1.5k?
Yeah, 1.5k gross, yeah.
Gross. And we also mentioned that we didn't really get a lot of reviews because we basically sold keys to our biggest fan before it went on Steam, which was a big mistake. If you didn't hear about this yet, go watch the video, it's very useful. But what really saved us is we made a video about how basically Forge Industry failed. And just because we made that video, a lot of you guys out there basically did pity reviews, I guess, which, while it sounds really sad, was a really big saver for Forge Industry in general. We got a massive bump in sales. The pity reviews made the Steam algorithm pick up Forge Industry more easily and suggest it to real customers. And that way, Forge Industry got a much wider view, which is what you can see on the first graph, which Marnix is hovering right now.
Yeah, I think another thing, not just like review-wise and sales-wise, that video, here's a quick tip if you ever want to start a YouTube channel about game dev, make a video about how much you're earning. People will click it. I hope this video does a bit of the same, but our first video we made about the sales results is our #1 video, like I said, and it also led to a lot of people discovering our channel for the first time because it's at, I think, 140,000 views right now, which is like a crazy amount. It's like what we made in the last month, normal video-wise. And from that point, basically, once it got that 10 reviews and it got into the discovery queue, we could kind of coast a little bit sales-wise. Like you can see in this graph, the first few days after we had launched, so this was like 1 week after launch, we were selling about 1 to 2 keys a day. So that is, I think, net about $20 a day. That's not much, especially for a game that only came out like a week before.
Yeah, and took 18 months of development and is with a team of 4 and...
Yeah. One thing that you often hear that we kind of broke the mold of because of this unique approach is that your biggest amount of sale, I think is like, I'm just pulling a number right now out of thin air, but I think like 50% of your total sales is like in the first week, and then like another 25% of your total sales is within the first month. And then it like trickles down basically to another 25% in the first year. So we were already like, we're screwed because if this is like the best it's gonna get, why did we even bother with this? Then luckily we got the discovery queue bump, so we went up to like 3 to 5 sales a day, like even more, and that trend continued for quite a while. I think it was also like, you know, YouTube recommended the video more, Steam recommended the game more, and then people from the YouTube went to Steam to check it out. So in general, it was quite positive.
The first thing you should take away from this is when you are making a game, the launch is really, really, really important. There is a reason all of those people suggest you to have like 7,000 wishlists or so before launching your game, because that first period of time is very important. We basically just got very lucky and a bit of a Hail Mary by you guys, by the algorithms that just picked us up, but not everyone is that lucky. So do try to get those wishlists in right now.
Yeah, I would say that the graph you see here, like our sales numbers, is not representative of how a normal studio would go. Normally it like goes down very much, whereas for us it stayed quite flat most of the time, but it's still, there were a lot of ups and downs, but we had a very stable number. Of course, we didn't just publish the game and forget about it. I think we actually spent about 2-3 months still of doing post-launch updates. So we weren't full-time working on it that much anymore. Like I think the first 2 weeks after launch, we still did a lot of updates, and then it calmed down a little bit. Thanks to you guys being very harsh and critical about the game in the comments of our first video, we found out a lot of things that we still had to improve, a lot of things that we could improve. I know the art sucks, you say, but that's something that's a bit harder to just overhaul, but a lot of UX changes. I also quickly want to take this moment to personally humbly apologize for calling the UI clunky and not understanding that people do play games for the UI.
This is his redemption arc.
I did understand it, it's just, man, I got so much roasted, so much hate for stating that.
I mean, you know it is necessary, you just worded it very poorly in that video.
Yeah, but oh well. We did our best to unclunkify the UI, but still, like, we'll dive into it. Like, some of you guys bought the game and then like refunded it, and I think you on purpose was like, the refund said like clunky UI just to like aimed at me. It's all fine. But yeah, that's basically a bit of the story there. What are some things we added? We did a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of quality of life things, like how you can visually see how full a building is without having to open it, because we have like extra crates around the building that would fill up with goods.
Another big one that was also very easy was our workers. Like, instead of just droning like dead robots, they now carry crates if they're actually transporting items. Those were like very small things, but they visually improved the game a lot. Like, very quick wins.
Yeah. I think we also did some extra things for the route management in general.
Yeah. Basically, what we tried to do is like, what are the basic tasks you do? How much clicks do you need to accomplish something, like creating a market order or building a route between two buildings? And we're like, how do we get the amount of clicks down? So I think you can now make a route basically in 2 clicks, whereas before it was like 4. And if you're making a lot of routes, because that's core of our game, that does change a lot. Yeah. We also overhauled our tutorial. That was a really big one.
Yeah.
Our first tutorial was horrible. It was way too large, basically. Like, you had to do too many things in one step. And we also added like visual indicators of click this button, click this building. Not everyone understood what the visual indicators were for, but it already helped a lot. And that also caused us to get a much lower refund rate. We'll dive into those stats in a second. Like, we'll go through the Steam dashboard again, but I just want to talk a bit about it first.
About the tutorial, we basically did no hand-holding before, and there were some hardcore people who loved it. But for the more casual players, it was basically impossible to know, I have to create routes, how do they work, what is congestion? We never explained any of those things to them.
Or we were like, build a wooden plank, like go to the wood saw and make planks. And I was like, 1, what is the wood saw? 2, how do I even make planks? Do I buy planks?
Yeah, do I just press in the wood saw, I want to create this? But no, you have to make a route to do that. Wait, what is a route? How do I connect these buildings to each other? All those things.
So we kept doing these updates, and I think it's almost been a month at this point since we did our final update. And I think if you originally played the game when we first made that video and you haven't touched it ever since, I would recommend like spin up the demo and give it another shot. I'm not sure if you're gonna like it, but I think it can be very interesting to see like the differences, because honestly, looking back, I kind of felt like we almost launched an EA game. It was just early access for like 2 months whilst we were like panic patching everything. And now I do feel like it's a much more complete game. Like, when I like pull up an old build, it's like, man, we sold this. Now it makes a lot more sense, and again, you see that in the refund rates as well.
Yeah, one of the main mistakes I think we did with Forge Industry is not a lot of playtesting. So basically our launch was our playtest, in my opinion, which is not a good idea. So if you're watching this video and you want to playtest our future games, do make sure you're subscribed, because we do monthly playtests for our new game, Songs of Everjade. Wishlist link down below as well.
Now, I want to go back to our sales numbers for a moment, because what we see here on the Steam dashboard doesn't tell the full story. What we do is we have actually done something that not that many indie developers do. And this is something that we also got our game roasted by Chris Zukovsky in one of his blog posts. He actually applauded us for, and that is that we sold physical keys. And then I don't just mean we sold them at Gameforce last year, where you could buy a pre-order key, which ended up biting us in the ass a lot. But instead, we once again went to Gameforce, which are like gaming conventions in Belgium and Netherlands. We had our game now, which was released, it was demoable, people played it, and then we gave them the option to buy it right there for 15 euros cash. They just got a Steam key and they got like an extra poster and things like that, and that meant that, hey, they had a pretty good value stack. They got a €1 discount, okay, may not seem that big. They also got a poster, they got some keychains, they got the supporter role in our Discord server, and what's also very important is we guilt tripped them. Okay, I make this sound very evil, but you know, if you just talk about like game development, they're usually interested. And if you're then like, hey, yeah, if you buy it here or you buy it on Steam, both are fine for us, but know that, hey, Steam takes 30%. If we sell a key here, we get a little bit more and you get a little bit of a discount still. This worked quite well. We sold for about, I think, almost 2,000 euros during those 2 weekends. And of course, it's not in the dashboard, but it's part of the lifetime retail activations unit stat. So yeah, I think we sold about 100 plus copies during those 2 weekends, which is really good. So if you are going to an event, like whether it's a Gamescom or something very local, I suggest you always have, if you have a released game, some kind of key you can sell at like a short discount. Steam doesn't mind if it's just a temporary thing. It's just if you have a personal site, for example, like a Shopify, you can't sell a permanent discount there. But if it's for events, it's fine.
Yeah, also something you briefly mentioned already is mention to those people that you are the developer and how it works for you, what your point of view is and why you sell it to them over there. Because a lot of people love the story about hearing, oh, you are the developers, oh, you're a small team, and they love to hear more about you and not necessarily your game. There are also YouTube viewers that are just interested in supporting ByteMe and don't really play, for example, factory automation games, but those are still people that can support you. And often to them, it's more than enough value already to know that, hey, I'm helping out a small indie team that are trying to live their dreams, so to say, and make these games.
And that brings me to basically the reason that I wanted to make this video, because sure, we could keep milking the stats all along, but honestly, we haven't told you that much new yet. What I really wanted to do in this video is talk about the impact of sales. That was the original pitch I had for this game, because by now we've gone through 2 Steam sales, and this is something that I personally couldn't really find that much information on YouTube. Like everyone talks about their day 1 launch stats or their week 1, but there's actually, if you look at this graph is nuts if you look at the sales. And I want to just go a bit more about the process there. What we did is we have done 2 sales at this point, so we have a sample size of 2. I wanted to wait till after the Steam Autumn sale, so we had like 2 data points. We did our first sale, honestly, already a bit too late. So I once had a call with Michael Futter, who's like a game dev business guy and who helps indies, and he told us to like discount every single time you can. And at first I was like, why would I do that? Like, what's the impact gonna be? Well, this is the impact apparently. So we did a 25% week-long sale, basically. That is the giant spike you see, which means that, hey, we were still earning about 7.5 euros net per individual sale. We were making gross, we made like 300 bucks in one day and then the next day another 250. This just 1 week-long sale had completely outperformed like these 6 weeks before. So just in one sale, and like it didn't really cost us anything. We just should have done it earlier. We had already missed out on a launch discount, so that's a classic story, don't do that. But then also, once you can discount, start very small. Do just at least 20%, because from 20%, everyone who has wishlisted your game will get like an email about it, and then slowly build it up. So we did 25% for a week-long discount, and then a month later we had the Steam Autumn sale where it's gonna be, well, it was 30% there. And from there on, we're going to very slowly build it out, but don't immediately panic sale to like 50%. That's a mistake that a lot of people do. I also talked about this with Grzegorz because we had that problem as well. Like Thomas here, he was like, we need to get under the $10 mark on the Steam category, so let's immediately go like 45% discount. We weren't sure, we messaged Chris and he was like, hey, just go small and don't worry about it. We worried about it because I didn't know this stat yet. This is why I wanted to make this video. Sales will make you a lot of money, much more than the regular stuff. One thing that I've realized, I think that does happen when you do these sales is once you've done a few sales, I think what we have right now is we're not going to be doing a lot of like sales between like the big sales. So for example, if we look at like the very recent graph, like since about a week ago when the Steam Autumn sale ended, we've sold 2 keys. Because by now, everyone who really hardcore wanted to buy the game has bought it. So now there's only like maybe one poor dude who finds in the discovery queue a day and who is like, hey, maybe this is interesting. But we still get wishlists. Our wishlists are still all right, but I think everyone from now on is going to wait for a sale. And then once we get into the sale, or we're also going to be joining the Capitalism Festival in January, I think those are moments that we will get those boosts. But I think now that our game is older, like 5 months is already very old for a game, sales are going to drop in general.
Yeah, also, once you do a sale, that's the new base price of your game. That's how the audience sees it. Like your game, if you have a $10 game, you give 30% discount, it's only $7. Everyone goes to SteamDB, looks at it and it's like, oh, it went down to 7, okay, it's only worth 7. And the next time it's at 7, they will buy it, otherwise they wouldn't. If you do a sale, remember that that's basically the new base price of your game, because not a lot of people will buy it above that mark.
So those are our sales numbers. If you have any questions about them, you can still head down into the comments. If you like all of these financial data, by the way, I quickly want to plug our own Patreon where we have a tier, the Insider tier, where we actually do financial breakdowns of our entire studio. So month by month, we talked about the sale, for example, already a month ago there, and like the effects it has there. So also if you're just curious in how do you run a studio, how do the financials work, how do we run it? It is a very good tier. It's not just financials, you get bonus videos, you get like
daily updates about what we do.
Yeah, so it can be a good value if you want to take this thing serious. Now, one thing I still want to talk about is wishlist and refund rates. So let's go to our dashboard and go to those. Let's start with the refund rates, because I think that's also a pretty interesting story. So when we originally released Forge Industry, we had about a 21.5% refund rate. I think that's what we had in the video. However, it was above 20, which is worse than average, is what it comes down to. Regular indie games should be at between 15 to 18% for your first game, but like newer games should be between 12 and 15. Because of that bad tutorial, we had a lot of bugs as well, like game crashing bugs that we ended up fixing. Because of that, our refund rate was very high. But now that we've done those updates, we actually implemented crash analytics, which we should have done way earlier. I'm looking at you angrily for that. We've actually managed to drop that down in the most recent month to only 14.8%, which honestly, I can live with. It's still a pretty complex game. It's still not the most pretty game. There's still like some oddities with it.
You have a very niche audience. A lot of people think it's Minecraft or a city builder. So, yeah.
So I think that we can be quite happy with the result of the 14.8%. So wishlist-wise, once again, this is also something that helped us a lot with that first week-long sale, I think, is because of that video about our sales. You can see a massive boost in wishlists here as well, 232 in a single day, because of like people just being interested in the game that we made. This really helped us a lot because we launched with 2,500 wishlists. And when we did our first week-long sale, we actually had about 5,000 wishlists. We like doubled our wishlist count. 5,000 is still not enough. It's not enough to get onto new and trending usually, or like the popular upcoming, but it helped us a lot as well. That's why I say like this was a very atypical like launch. Normally you want to have these spikes before your game launches to begin with, but we can't have everything. So like what we see here is in the last 123 days, which is when basically our video came out, we gained 3,453 wishlists, which is still pretty solid. Like, especially for a game that was already out, I think it is quite rare that like you double or like over double your wish lists over time.
What you can see in the graph is we basically shot ourselves in the foot and somehow we managed to patch it up pretty decently anyway.
So that leaves us to one big question. What are we gonna do with Forge Industry? And the answer to that is honestly pretty short. Absolutely nothing. Or well, not absolutely nothing, but not much. I still have like a few things planned, like recently I overhauled the screenshots of our store page, and I do want to make a new trailer at some point. It's just I have this whole mountain of things to do, but content-wise, update-wise, we're done. We're not doing anything anymore.
Unless it's absolutely game-breaking, but no new features, basically.
And the reason for that, once again, is very simple. If we're getting 2 sales a week, look, it's simply not worth it to keep investing in it. We're focusing now on our next game, Songs of Everjade, which is a roguelite set in Chinese mythology. So if that is something you're interested in, you can also go down below and wishlist that one. But Forge Industry, it was a great first learning project, but the code base is very rotten. We don't really want to touch it anymore. Maybe in 5 years there will be a Forge Industry 2.
Waifu Industries, the hardcore audience will know what I'm talking about.
So that's a bit of our plan. I hope this video taught you a bit more. I think especially the sales part was something that I as an indie developer had no idea about. So if this is content that interests you, be sure to go down below and subscribe, because we're indie developers, we make our own games, and we just share the ups and downs and the entire process with you. So if that's something that interests you, be sure to subscribe. Anyways, that's all I really had to say. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye.